Welcome back to the Saints Squad Show. I'm your host, Dylan Sanders of Saints Wire, and I'm going to go see Superman for a second time today.
I'm Ross Jackson, host of Locked On Saints podcast, and I think there's Saints that got snubbed by my good friends here at the Locked On Podcast Network Top 100.
And this is former Saints wide receiver Lance Moore, and my wife thinks I'm weird for drying my feet before I step onto the bath mat.
You're not.
It's the Saints Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything New Orleans Saints, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from down in the Big Easy, the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Saints Squad Show, starting now.
Howdy, United Nation, and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every Monday and Thursday. We have a unique group of experts here ready to bring you a fun and informative show on everything New Orleans Saints. Today, we're going to be diving into stuff like a Blake Grupe season preview. Special teams talk. Let's go. We're bringing back Lance's play of the day because we had so much fun last time having our minds explode with football knowledge. We're going to jump back into training camp with the biggest training camp question marks that we have across the offensive line. And we're going to start off our show with two Saints players that made the Locked On NFL's Top 100, and then maybe some more that should have. But I do have to start off. There's good news. John was released by the Falcons fans. But on his way back, he forgot they opened up that Buc-ee's in Mississippi. And he stopped in, and he's still in line to get out. Those parking lots, man, they go a while.
That new Buc-ee's is insane, too. It is always popping.
Yeah, it's, man.
Buc-ee's be popping.
Buc-ee's be popping, baby.
Buc-ee's be popping. So let's jump into some football. The Locked On NFL released their top 100 list today, and like every list, there's a lot of controversy, but there are a couple things that I like. Let's start off with the good. Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave both made it onto the list, and I think that is about as good as you could hope for with the Saints. I mean, most of these top 100 lists don't have them at all. Mm-hmm. So to have Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, you have the established veteran, and then Chris Olave being a top 100 player is really going to be shocking to a lot of people because I mean, he didn't really play much last year, and then he's kind of been like everyone knows he has the talent, but he's waiting to break out. So, Ross, I want to get your thoughts because I know you voted on this list. Mm-hmm. So, initially, give your thoughts on Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave's placement, and who did you vote on that didn't make the list?
Yeah, for sure. So the two that did make it, like you mentioned, Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. Alvin Kamara made it at pick number 49, or not pick number 49, but at number 49. And then Chris Olave made it at number 83 on the list. So Alvin Kamara top 50, which I thought was pretty cool. But I was a bit surprised to see both these guys on there, though I do believe that they deserved consideration and do believe that they deserved placement. I think the thing that you're looking at is these are the players going into 2025 that are the top 100 players. Not necessarily did they have a top 100 performance in 2024. Sometimes it's hard to separate those two things. But Alvin Kamara, I thought, had a top 100 performance last year, almost had his first 1,000-yard rushing season, 950 rushing yards, over 500 receiving yards added. Now he's going into 2025 where he's effectively got to be the heartbeat, as our good friend Peter Bukowski called it, of this New Orleans Saints offense going into 2025. Chris Olave, in the meanwhile, becomes the heartbeat of the passing game, or at least the focal point of the passing game. He was the one that I was most surprised to see on the list, not because I didn't think that he deserved to be there, but because I wasn't sure if my colleagues from outside of, let's just say, the Gulf Coast area would really understand what it is that Chris Olave's high-end ability is, despite the injuries that hampered him last year. So you're assuming everybody on this list, you know, if they were healthy, where would they rank going into 2025? And so with that considered, I was pretty surprised and pleasantly surprised to see Chris Olave make the list. By the way, Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver from the Cleveland Browns, did not make the list. Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars did not make the list. So while, you know, my colleagues are not all perfect in these situations, I thought they at least got the Chris Olave, helped to get the Chris Olave part right.
One thing that I also found interesting about Chris Olave's placement on the list is that he is the second highest player in the receiver in the NFC South, with Mike Evans being at 69, which is, I think, is a nice placement for him.
Nice placement.
Although actually, outside of the joke, I think that's a little too high for Mike Evans.
Yeah.
We'll go. That's another conversation. Lance, give me your initial thoughts on the list.
Well, look, I was going to ask Ross before you even, went to him if he voted on this, and then, who else were the people who voted on this, right? Like, as I feel like American sports fans, we're obsessed with lists, right? And who is where, and I'm a fan of this team. How could they not have all these different guys from my team that are my favorite players on this list or whatever? The reality is it doesn't really matter that much. We're going to talk about it today, but any list that comes out, whether it's the NFL top 100, which I played for 11 years in the NFL, they said the players vote, and I don't know that I ever even voted on the top 100 in the NFL, right?
I've heard that a few times, actually.
It's probably a smaller sample size, right, than what people would imagine it is. But I'm not going to be negative Nelly in totality over here. I'm going to say that it's good to see two of our players on the list. I would have loved to have seen at least one defensive guy on the list. But to me, it's more about impact that these guys have, as opposed to like, this guy is better than that guy is better than this guy. Like, Mike Evans has had an incredible impact on the Buccaneers offense every single year since he's been in the National Football League. So while somebody might say he's not today a better player than maybe even Chris Olave, right? Like, you could maybe make that argument. His career in totality, I think, and the nostalgia of the fact that like people still think he's that guy from 5, 6, 7 years ago will allow them to vote a player like that so high, right? And I think that's part of the reason why AK is where he is, right? Like, he has never had a 1,000-yard season, but you cannot argue that dude has not had an incredible impact on the Saints offense every single year that he's been on the field, right? So 49 kind of feels right, I guess, in my opinion, for Alvin at this point. But I think talent-wise, I mean, we're probably talking about, even still to this day, and I'm sure we'll see it this season with a better offensive scheme, a more healthy offensive line. But he could be, in my opinion, a top 25 talent in the NFL. Whether he's able to stay on the field, and the same thing for Chris Olave. Like, in the 80s, okay, I could see that. There's definitely receivers ahead of him. Like you guys said, like, Mike Evans is the only other NFC South receiver that's ahead of him. There's some arguments to be made there. I'm not going to make them. I like where he is because it's a recognition thing. Okay, we've seen what you've done thus far, but you've got work to do if you want to get kind of in the top echelon of wide receivers in the National Football League, or even offensive players altogether. We need to see another step, right? And that's kind of what we've been talking about this entire offseason with him, right? We love the player, right? We see the incredible potential. He's shown it. He's made plays. Now we need to see consistency. We need to see more yards after catch. We need to see a player that now is turning into a dominant player, not just a good player. Like, Chris Olave is a really good player. He's got a couple 1,000-yard seasons, but he still hasn't quite looked like the dominating player that I think he can be, and hoping that he will be this season, because I do think, like Ross, that he's going to be the focal point of the passing game. And then obviously on the flip side, AK is going to be the focal point of the run game. And for us as Saints experts or Saints fans, that's something that we would love to see this season.
Yeah,
I will say too, Chris Olave was the number 14 wide receiver on the list in terms of all wide receivers.
And I think, like, leaving this season, I think still thinking of Chris Olave as a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL would be a massive win. So the fact that he's already being viewed at he does that across the league is I think speaks to what he has shown whenever he is healthy and why everyone is so excited for him to be healthy again and in an offense that is going to be able to use him more and highlight what he does well.
Yeah. Russ, I'm curious. This is a random question that we definitely didn't have a plan to talk about, but where was Garrett Wilson on the list? Do you know?
Oh, Garrett Wilson was literally a couple of spots ahead. I think he was 79.
Okay, so let's turn this conversation into something contract related, right? That should serve as crazy motivation for Chris Olave, right? Garrett Wilson just got paid $31.5 million a year, I think is what he got.
I think 32, but same. Like it's
okay. 30 plus million dollars a year. A guy that was drafted in his draft class and his buddy from Ohio State. Like they were teammates drafted in the same class. They played the same position. If that doesn't motivate him to, and I think the Saints will extend him, but it's like, okay, we kind of need to wait and see.
You ain't doing it right now.
I agree with you. I don't think that they're going to do it right now. And I'm wavering on what I'm allowed to talk about on this show a little bit. But I think in general terms, a guy that's looking for a contract extension that has still some question marks, if he needed any additional like motivation going into this season, I think that would be $32.5 million. I mean, come on, man. Like, I think that would be it, right? To see your buddy who people, I guess, are viewing as a better player than you, that you kind of came up with in the league, get that type of bread. I mean, that's motivation right there. Like, now it's like, go get it. Do what it takes to go get that money. I mean, that's kind of the going rate for a top tier wide receiver. You don't have to be better than the guy that just got paid before you. I mean, that's the reality of kind of how business goes in the NFL. Like if one guy becomes the highest paid, look, I don't think anybody is touching Jamar Chase. Like that's not happening anytime soon, right? That $40 million a year, which is, if you would have told me anytime during my career that at some point wide receivers would be making $40 million a year, I would have looked at you like you are like,
I remember,
like this is the craziest person ever.
You would have been doing that Tyler Lockett drop down and extend your career.
Because I would have never seen that, right? Like you do, guys have specific roles, and then you are kind of labeled as such in contract negotiations. Like, okay, this guy is a number 2, or this guy is our whatever guy. But unless you're a number 1 guy, like you're not getting that money. And I was kind of smart enough to realize what my role was and where I fit in the pecking order. And it just wasn't a reality that I was going to be, a $10 million a year guy back then, or a $40 million a year guy now. But to be a 20 plus or a $30 million receiver, like I believe Chris Olave will be, it's incumbent upon him to go out there and prove to the Saints organization that he's worthy of that money. And I believe he's more than capable of doing that.
Yeah. I remember when people like analysts were mad that Drew Brees took like a 4-year, $40 million contract. And they talked about how it was like a enormous contract and they were like berating him for it and all this stuff. And now we got guys, wide receivers making 40 a year. Everything, and it's just like, man, that's
I love it. Look, it's people can complain about the money that the guys make, but what good does that do anybody, right? Like we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry that continues to grow, and the players are the reason the league is growing. It's not because of Roger Goodell or the ownership groups. Like it's the players. People show up to watch the players play. And as much as Roger Goodell loves being on TV during the NFL draft and announcing draft picks and getting dapped up by the rookies like they've known each other for 20 years, like people don't show up to see Roger Goodell. They show up to see those rookies who are going to be playing for their favorite teams during the season and hopefully years to come. Like it's a player-driven league. And so as the league grows, so too will the players' salaries. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how the collective bargaining agreement was set up, so that there is, essentially revenue sharing between the owners and the players. And to me, it's not enough. Like, the owners shouldn't be getting half and then all of the players together get half. Like, that's a weird thing, right? You should be paying the product more, but I don't know that there's ever going to be a world where the owners go, you know what, you're right.
I should take less money.
We should probably take less money and give you guys more money. Like that, we're a long ways away from that. Maybe AI can help in the next CBA.
Yeah, there you go.
Collective bargaining agreement negotiations, so that the players have a better chance, right? Like it's tough when you don't have the leverage that's necessary to be able to get some of the things that are, I think, that should be necessities for players, and particularly former players. I feel like other sports leagues do a better job of taking care of their former players than the NFL does. But that's a conversation for a later day. Again, I think that Chris Olave is due for a great year. And I do think that, he will be one of those highest paid receivers when it's all said and done here. Maybe not early in the season, but at some point, and then definitely after the season, if he does not get one during the season.
Yeah. And just to round this up, the Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave conversation, Wilson, through his first 3 years, has averaged 93 catches on a 60% catch rate with 1,083 yards and just under 5 touchdowns a year in some terrible, terrible offenses. I think that Olave can very much match that. And I think, honestly, that's kind of like the bottom line of what people want to see from Olave this year.
But, got to stay on the field, though. I don't think it's not a lack of ability, and to defend the organization, it's not like they're not saying that we need to see if this guy is good enough. It's we need to see if this guy can stay on the field as consistently as we need him to earn that amount of money,
to get that right, to be that impact player, like you were talking
100%,
about, right?
100%. Yeah.
Well, to do that and to get those yards, they're going to need to have some protection for the quarterback. And we're going to talk a little offensive line and training camp coming up next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Maybe you already want to start talking about some NFL. I mean, the season's upcoming, and you can place some bets. If you're feeling crazy, the Saints have plus 40,000 odds to win the Super Bowl. That's dead last in the league. A little bit more realistic, maybe, though. Tyler Shuck is plus 1,200 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. That could be fun. It'd be fun to watch. It's still a long shot, but still. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Place one of those bonus bets on the Saints winning the Super Bowl, you cash out. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's $5. And if your bet wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. Jumping back into it, let's go with some training camp that's coming up soon. And one of the most exciting things I'm ready to watch is to see what this offensive line group looks like. So let's talk about some question marks we have. And I'll start off with the biggest thing that I want to see is this really the group? Is it going to be Pinning at left guard? Like, are they going to still be mixing around with that? And just how ready does Pinning look to play left guard? I mean, it's funny, like we have a rookie left tackle, a guy moving back to the right tackle for the first time. Yet I'm really most excited to watch Trevor Pinning, the guy who's been around for a while, over at left guard. He's the biggest question mark to me. How do y'all feel? Let's start off with Ross.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the biggest question mark. I think you look at Kelvin Banks Jr. was Outland Trophy winner, Lombardi Award winner, consensus All-American, did it all at left tackle, did it in the Big 12, and then did it again in the SEC. Everything that. So like he's got a trajectory that shows you like, yeah, it will probably translate. Now we got to see if it actually does. It's a different game, different speed, all that other stuff. But that question mark feels like it's still a question mark, but not as strong a question mark as the Trevor Penning side, because we've seen Trevor Penning at left tackle, we've seen him at right tackle. Now we're seeing him at left guard. I think that just garners more question because it's like, okay, that didn't work out. Then look, right tackle actually kind of worked out, but if you can get Taliesin Fuanga back to his spot, I think that there's value in that. And so you're moving him there. So I think that has to be the biggest question when it comes to, looking at that starting offensive line. I think that there's other questions to be asked, like what's the drop off from the starters to the depth players? Because we saw a major drop off last year, which cost the Saints a 7-game losing streak effectively, right? Started to kind of spiral them into that place. And so I think that's the other thing. There's always going to be some drop off, but is the level of drop off as dramatic this year as it was last year? On paper, it doesn't look like it is, but we won't really know until we see one of those guys in action. And you have to be ready for attrition on the offensive line. You're not going to have all 5 of your starters for 17 games. So you're going to have to be ready for that too. So yeah, I agree that Penning is the biggest one. And I think depth is another big one for me.
Yeah. Lance, what do you want to see with the offensive line coming up in training camp?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with all the things that you guys are saying. Like, is the offensive line going to look like this season? What it looked like throughout the entirety of the offseason? And I would imagine that while there will probably be some sort of a rotation at times, I think the group is what it is, right? Like, I think Penning will be, it's going to be his job in essence to lose at left guard. My question mark is can they stay healthy? I mean, that's the question for me, because if that is the group, Kelvin Banks Jr. at left tackle, Penning at left guard, McCoy at center, Cesar Ruiz at right guard, and Taliesin Fuanga at right tackle, I think that's a pretty good group. If they can stay healthy and continue to build like the cohesiveness that it's going to take for them to be a solid unit, like I like that group, honestly. I think the things that Trevor Penning does well, I think bode well for him to be a starting guard in the National Football League, right? Like he had a little bit of trouble in space. Well, he's not really having to play in space too much on the inside with guys on either side of him. And I think that, obviously schematically, things can change from play to play. So it's not as simple as saying like, oh, Eric McCoy's right next to him, like he's going to help him. He can't help him on every play, right? There's going to be plays that are called where Eric McCoy has a different job description that will not allow for him to give Trevor Penning help. But I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to need help on every single play, right? It's the speed of the game is going to be different for him in the preseason, clearly, than what it was throughout the offseason and then what it's going to be in practice even. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve for him, I think, even still after spending the whole offseason at guard. But I think that he will be up to speed and he will be up to the challenge. He'll be able to be his physical, mean, nasty self playing inside in the guard position, and again do what he does well. I think that the guys being able to stay healthy, like that is what's going to be most important. There will be times when somebody gets nicked up and has to go out for a play or two or a series or two, or maybe even leaves a game. But my hope is that for, the entirety of the season, that these guys can, be a really, really good and healthy unit and hopefully play every single game together. Like if you watch enough football and you see the teams that have, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles come to mind on their Super Bowl runs. I think both of them actually, they had their starting offensive lines start the entire season. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of unheard of. But usually when those teams have that, they're able to have more success offensively because of that continuity and them being able to do what they need to do on the offensive line for their offense.
Yeah.
By the way, Eric McCoy should have been a top 100 player in the Locked On NFL top 100.
Oh, absolutely.
That was one. That was a snub for me. That was a snub for me.
I mean, it's so hard for centers to make the list in the first place, but also whenever he was injured and then on a bad team, it's going to be hard to do it. But I definitely think that whenever he is on the field, he is absolutely a top 100
impact.
You can't name 100 players better than Eric McCoy at the game of football.
Well, and impact can be measured in a number of different ways, right? Like for a skill guy, it could be measured in statistics, and for a kicker, clearly it could be measured in makes and misses, right? Or situational plays.
Tuned.
But correct. But for an offensive lineman, and look, this is something that we as in agents, specifically with my partner and my company, like we use these types of things for impact, right? Like, what does the offensive line, how do they play when he's there, right? What does the running game look like? What does the sack rate look like? What does the pressure rate look like? And then when he's taken away from the equation, now what does the offensive line look like? What does our offense in totality look like? Oh, we're giving up way more sacks. We're giving up way more pressures. Oh, and by the way, we don't have nearly as many yards. And we're on a 7-game losing streak without this guy. He hasn't played in any of these games. We lost all of them. So like that is a true like quantifiable measurement of impact. And I believe, I believe that he should be a top 100 player, but I think that he's one of the best centers in the game and definitely does not get, I think, the recognition that he deserves. But again, staying healthy and being able to be on the field consistently will allow for potentially for that to be, a thing of the past, and then people will start talking about him as one of the elite guys in the league.
That's my homework for Monday's show. I'm going to bring all those numbers. I'm going to bring all that, like with and without. Don't let me forget. I love that. That's going to be my homework for Monday's show.
But I mean, think about it. Like the teams don't, in negotiations, like the teams aren't going to do that type of research and be like, oh, yeah. Well, you're right. We are gonna,
you have to bring that to the table, right?
We're going to present that to you and show you why you need to pay player X, Y, or Z, right? Or why he's worth whatever we think that he's worth. And it's a good reminder, right? Because, sometimes like the teams see the player every single day, like he's around, and it's like, you don't always know what you got until it's gone sometimes. Like we felt the impact on that.
Like John on this show.
100%. We just are not the same without John, but hopefully he's getting something slapping to eat there at Buc-ee's.
The beaver nuggets.
Yes.
The brisket sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think one of my big theories around why offensive linemen don't often make these lists is because, like, as a wide receiver, as a corner, as an edge rusher, you hear your name called when you do good things. As an offensive lineman, you hear your name called when you do bad things. And so the recognition only really comes with your name being called. But when your name is often being called only when something negative happens, and then you're kind of a no news is good news position, like the offensive line, you don't get the name recognition to go along with your good play. You're doing the good play, but no one recognizes it because they're watching, oh, look how much time the quarterback had to throw. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things I think becomes really tough for particularly people that don't play the game or haven't played the game to evaluate offensive line and say, this is a good offensive lineman, this is a bad offensive lineman, all these other things. Or rather, not necessarily that, I'm sorry, but more so comparing them to other positions, right? When you're comparing your offensive lineman to, a safety, but you're also comparing them to a quarterback from the other conference, blah, 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 and these types of lists, that's where, or those types of lists, I think that's where those things matter.
Yeah, it's
counterpoint, Ross.
Counterpoint.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Counterpoint. Your brother could date Taylor Swift.
True. That's true. That could help. That could help.
Yeah, well, but look, it's and to your point, Dylan, it's partially a popularity contest, which is it always is, right? Pro Bowl, All Pro, All-Star games, it's definitely all these lists are popularity contests, as well as, I guess giving players credit for the types of players that you believe that they are. I mean, we'd be silly to not, or to try to ignore that part of the equation, because I do think it's an extremely important part of the equation, especially when it comes to like anything that you get to vote on, right? Like you're voting on the people that you like, not necessarily all the time the people who are the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Unfortunately.
No, you're right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah. Offensive line is definitely the most, I think, underrated position group on the field, just because it's not sexy. We talk about sexy football plays. It's not sexy unless you're a freak like some of us that love the offensive line play.
Hey, look, my favorite part of Alvin Kamara's 60-something yard catch and run against the Green Bay Packers was Eric McCoy leading the way down the field and Cesar Ruiz like right there by him. Like there are sexy offensive line plays, but man, it really depends on your offensive system sometimes. Depends on the types of plays they're being called, and it depends, of course, on you individually, like finding your way into those moments and everything. And so I think that's one of those spots where you're like, okay, cool, there's a sexy offensive line play, but otherwise, you're hoping for a big man touchdown some way, right? Like that's the easiest way to get your name on the map.
Yeah. Well, Ross mentioned some homework for himself, and I hope y'all are all ready to learn, because coming up next is Lance's play of the day. We had so much fun doing it last time. We're going to go back. Lance is going to bring a play and break it down for us. So I'll hand the floor over to you for now. What is the play and who is it designed around, Lance?
Yeah. So obviously last time it was a lot of ball talk and X's and O's and no, I guess the response was good. We drew up a play for Chris Olave. So no, take that back. It was Rashid Shaheed that time.
It was Shaheed.
You guys told me that you like, the shot plays. Like let's do something. And the thought was that I believe all of us believe that it's going to be a really, really good season for Juwan Johnson. So the idea was to call a play. I'm not designing a play. I'm not drawing up a play. This isn't me. I can't take credit for this. This is still drawing back from my many years of the Sean Payton offense. And obviously I wanted to have a play that had, enough words for people to be like, wait, like what was that?
Yeah, right.
And think about Ross, pay attention. You're gonna have to repeat the play in a little bit.
Okay. Think about this though. Like you're just finishing and this is something I didn't go into last time, right? You're just finishing the previous play. As soon as the ball carrier is stopped, right? The ball is on the floor or on the ground. The referee is grabbing it and placing it on. The head referee is running the play clock. Right. So you're in the huddle. Everybody, or you're not even in the huddle yet, right? You're jogging back to get in the huddle. The play clock is going down, right? You're getting in the huddle. You're tired, probably from running 30, 40 yards down the field. You got to get back. I wrote this down just in case because I didn't want to forget it. But this is what you're listening for. And mind you, a lot of times, or I should say half of the time, you're on the road. So the crowd noise is going to be pretty loud and you've got to listen up. Here I am. I'm turning into Drew Brees, or I guess I'm turning into Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler in this scenario. Explode to bunch right, Z out, 22 paint, all go special, kill, swing, screen, left. For those of you who don't know, all go special is a shot play, all go. Everybody's running go routes. And it doesn't necessarily mean everybody, because not everybody is running a go route, right? Obviously, the offensive line has to stay in and block. The quarterback is not running any routes. And the running back, based on what I said here, 22 paint, now he's in protection. The quarterback or center, depending on who's playing quarterback, is going to figure out which linebacker, DB, or potential rush guy to paint. They're making, in essence, they're making him the extra guy. So the guys up front are going to block the guys with their hands down or the guys that are on the line of scrimmage. And the running back now is supposed to block whoever the fifth guy is. The extra guy is going to be the paint guy. And I guess it could even be the sixth guy. If they got a 5 down front, they paint somebody else. Those 5 guys come, the running back can block whoever is painted. If the guy who is painted does not come on a pressure, the running back is doing a check release or a check option route. So he can check, nobody's coming, then I'm going out of the backfield and I'm running like a little bit of an option route. Okay.
The Latavius Murray special. The Latavius
sure.
Murray special right there.
Yep.
I'm going to pick something up and then I'm going to get out on a route.
Yep, for sure. So the all go part, right? So let's go back. Explode. What the heck does explode mean? So explode is a shift. It's not a motion. A shift is something that happens right away as soon as you get to the line of scrimmage. So we get to the line of scrimmage. Explode is an X term. So the X receiver on the back side of the formation is going to create a bunch formation. So it'll be the X on the line of scrimmage, close to the offensive line. Then just outside of him will be the Z receiver, like kind of on his outside hip. And then just inside of him on his inside hip, obviously the two of them are off the ball, will be the F receiver. So those guys go get lined up in a bunch left. The Y tight end will be to the right, kind of split out a little bit. So we're making the defense think, or we're giving them the illusion that we're going to do a weak side bunch with the strong side, like the tight end side, to the right, their defensive left. On the explode, the X receiver goes from a close bunch alignment, or what we would call a nasty alignment. Nasty meaning the X is close to the line, is close to the offensive line. He goes out wide to his normal position. The Y tight end on the right side is going to go from a split out over to the point of a bunch, because I said bunch right. On the right side of the offensive line, the F receiver will go line up on the inside hip of the Y, and the ZY receiver will go line up on the outside hip of the Y. So now you essentially went from a bunch left to a bunch right. So now that's already confusion for the defense. Oh shoot, we got to shift. We got to do this. We got to do that. And it gives the offense an indicator. If the defense is playing zone coverage, guys basically kind of stay where they are, right? That not always. Like guys will, kind of the corner that was on the offense's left side of the field in the weak side bunch will stay to the left, but he will obviously bounce out with the XY receiver as he moves outside, right? Like he's staying on his side. I guess I should say that.
Yeah.
Because if the opposite, if the offense or the defense is in man-to-man coverage, then guys are going to kind of run with all the other guys that they're supposed to guard. Why is that important? Well, one, it's important because you have a kill on this play. And the kill on this particular play is swing screen left. And that is, and what does kill mean? Kill means we don't like the first play that was called. We're going to kill that play and run the second play that was called. Swing screen is an amazing play to run against man-to-man coverage. So that's why it's there. You can run all go special against man-to-man coverage, but it's way better against zone coverage. We designed this play for a too high or a split safety look, right? Where the safeties are deep and they get width on the snap of the ball. But you could also be a winner in this play against a single high defense, zone coverage or man-to-man, but zone coverage in particular. I will explain what all the receivers are doing in this play. The Z out also is just to give the defense something to look at, right? It's going to get the Z from a bunch position all the way out to around or just outside the numbers, right? You're allowing your offense to get a little more width in this play. My old receiver coach, Curtis Johnson, always used to say, in the passing game, you can beat the defense by length, right? Length down the field or width across the field, right? Because they can't cover the whole thing. So being able to get wide and get your guys on landmarks in this play in particular is important, right? The Z's going outside the numbers. His landmark on all go or all go special, which is what we're running, is 4 yards outside the numbers. So he doesn't have to start there. He doesn't have to motion all the way out there. He can get width on his initial release after the ball is snapped. His landmark is 4 yards outside the numbers. Now, to the inside guys, the F receiver who is on the inside hip of the Y, he's going to take a wide release. His landmark is the inside edge of the numbers. What is the inside edge? The inside edge is the edge that's closest to the middle of the field, right?
Yep.
Outside edge is closest to the sideline. Inside edge is closest to the center of the field. So his landmark is the inside edge of the numbers. He's staying down that landmark the entire time. He's not ever going to the inside, like more inside, or he's not ever supposed to get bumped outside those numbers. Why don't you want to get bumped outside those numbers? Well, because you're kind of infringing upon the landmark of the outside guy, right? If you don't have any kind of distribution of your receivers and everybody's running in the same area, then you can be covered by less guys than
one player. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. And then to the backside, because obviously I said this play is designed for Jawan, so I'm going to do Jawan last. The backside, the X receiver, he's lined up 2 to 4 yards outside the numbers, and if you're guessing, what is his landmark? 4 yards outside the numbers, right? This is the horizontal distribution between our guys, and obviously making sure that we take up as much of the field as possible.
Yeah,
I talked about.
So you're attacking in this situation. You're attacking 4 yards outside the numbers on both sides of the field. So you're using effectively the entire width of the field.
We're using the entire width of the field on this play. This is all go special. AK is the paint guy, so he's checking protection and then he's releasing out of the backfield. Kind of, I believe it's through the offensive line, but every now and again there's not going to be a hole there, so you kind of bounce around them. And a lot of times that option route turns into what we would say is a burst route. So he's checking, he's releasing, and then he's running out to the right side where we have the 3 receiver distribution to kind of be the quarterback's outlet. Nobody's open downfield. I can check it down to AK on the move. He can take it and get it up the field. Okay. Now to Jawan. Jawan is what we would call the read guy. He's got the read of this play. What is the defense running? Well, you break the huddle. As a receiver, at least, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm checking the safeties. Where are the safeties? And now think about it. Like, we don't have 5 minutes to assess what's going on the other side of the field, right? We've literally got 5 seconds to see what they're doing pre-snap, and what they're doing pre-snap doesn't always tell you what they're doing post-snap, right? Because there's that's
a Brandon Staley thing.
For sure.
Yeah, the hidden disguise.
For sure. They try to hide coverages, and you can watch enough film to kind of get tendencies to understand situationally what type of defenses that teams really want to do. But this play is built for a 2-high defense, a cover 2 defense, where those safeties split, right, and stay split. And Jawan basically in a 2-high defense, he kind of keeps it a little bit skinny and runs what we would call a post, I guess you could say. He takes the middle of the defense, the middle hole. So it's a middle of the field open, MOFO, or middle of the field closed, MOFC, read for him. He's got a middle read. Is it open or is it closed? If it's open, you're taking that. Quarterback can drop back, throw the ball, you can catch it, you can split the defense, you can score a touchdown. Defenses a lot of times these days are not playing the simple cover 2 with the whole middle of the field open. A lot of teams are playing a Tampa 2 type defense where the middle linebacker or somebody is dropping to the middle hole, so there's not a huge gaping area for a receiver to just run uncovered through. Which makes the throw potentially a little bit different for the quarterback. He cannot just drop back, bombs away, and throw you a 50-yard bomb, right? He's got to kind of navigate that middle linebacker with his eyes. Usually the Mike linebacker in the Tampa 2 defense is going to drop to receiver strength. There's 3 receivers on that side. So he's going to kind of fade a little bit to our offensive right, knowing that that's where 3 receivers are, right? Like, he should never, ever turn to the X receiver who's the single guy backside. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So there's a little bit of navigation that the quarterback's got to do with that mic and that particular throw. We're calling it for cover 2 defense. It's single high defense, right? That means you've got another guy drop down to your trips receiver side. There's 1 safety back. So what the Jawan's job is on this particular play is to basically cross that safety's face and get to the other side of the field at about 22 to 25 yards down the field. He's still the primary target, even against the single high defense. But the number 2 receiver, so your slot receiver, which in this play starts as your F receiver in the bunch, who's taking that wide release, he is big time alive on this play. Because of that being a single high, there's only one guy back. And in essence, you're running a 2-on-1 on that safety. This guy's crossing my face. Do I go take him, or do I move over to the wider side of the field to take that safety away? Now, on the single high defense, what's most important for the quarterback to get an accurate read on where to go with the football is predicated on that Z receiver that's outside running. Why does he have to run? Because he has to make sure that cornerback does not fall off on the inside receiver. He has to be running to make sure that corner stays with him and cannot fall off on a receiver that's running through the inside edge of the numbers against a single high defense. So it's like, this might not be your play, Z guy, but you got to run. Oh, and by the way, if it's man-to-man and it looks like it's just lined up as a number or cover 2 defense, and then they rotate late and they're playing man, this could be your play. So you you have to run, right? Okay, now let's say it is man-to-man and the quarterback sees it, and I know I got to wrap it up because we're getting tight on time. But the swing screen thing, the quarterback kills. The bunch guys could move out a little bit, or they could move even to a regular trips formation. That X receiver is going to cut his split back down to a nasty. And all the guys on the front side are going to run their normal all go, and then eventually turn into blocks. That receiver, that X receiver that was wide, that now has turned his split to a nasty split. What I mean by split is how far is he split away from the tackle. That's what split means. I don't want to assume that people understand the vocabulary that's here. That to me is like second. It's like a second language to me. But I got to make sure.
I mean, I know. So, but I'm glad you're letting for all the people at home.
Yes, for sure. So that nasty split now. That X receiver who was running a wide go route now is not running a go route because it's swing screen. So he is going to run what we call a shallow cross that turns into a block on the backside. He's running a shallow cross to get the eyes of the defenders, in particular the DBs, but most importantly, the linebackers. He's going to run underneath those guys to kind of grab their attention, even though they're in man-to-man coverage. That corner should be following him. And what Alvin's going to do is run just literally a swing out into the backfield from the left side. The quarterback literally drops like he's running a pass play, tosses it over his left shoulder to the running back coming out of the left side, and 1 or 2, depending on the defense of the offensive lineman, basically pull and turn into an escort. So you got too much information. Too much information. We got all the receivers on the right side running go routes. The DBs are all running with them. We've got the offensive lineman dropping like it's a pass play. We've got the quarterback dropping like it's a pass play. We've got the backside X receiver running a shallow cross. We've got eyes on him. We've got linebackers. Oh, there's somebody running in front of me. Whoever's the one that's tasked with guarding AK one-on-one is going to have to deal with a lot of traffic. Oh, and by the way, you've got 1 or 2 offensive linemen pulling that are coming to block that particular player. It could be out the gate. And we've had plenty of those plays out the gate for running backs in the Sean Payton era. And I think it's a perfect play. It's got answers for all the defenses, and it gives Juwan the opportunity to get down the field and make a decision based on what the defense is doing. Yeah. And we always would say, when we have a play like this, the defense can't win as long as we go and execute.
Yep. Yeah. This is one of those plays that makes me excited because it feels, this is often the case for every play, but this is one of those plays where it's super easy to see that every single thing matters because of the depth of this out. That opens up the ability for Juwan to be able to cross the face of the safety and have an area of open field. If the safety does this, then you can go here. But this Z receiver has to do this in order for this to be available, so on and so forth. Like I love it's not little, but I love the detail of a play like this to where every single thing impacts every single thing. That's really cool.
All right,
But
Ross,
Ross,
can
look,
you give
it's
me
it,
any of the
it
play?
happens every play.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Every
It's
single
like
play.
that's true for every play, but this is one that you can easily illustrate it, right? Like
For
it's
sure.
easy to see where everything hits, and that's a thing that I think people have to kind of learn over time. Is that like, oh yeah, that player that's running that deep, clear out or whatever that everybody wants to call it, like that matters because of these other 7 things that are happening. And oh, by the way, that might become the live route on the play too in a certain situation and stuff like that. So like that's the big thing is like that's the truth for every single play, but this one does a really good job of illustrating.
And that is a major piece of playmaking. Like I
Yeah.
tell young receivers all the time, and I ask them like, what is the job description of a wide receiver? And they're like, oh, catch touchdowns, do this, do that, make plays, blah blah. And I said, no. I said that's not. I said your job is to be a playmaker, and you don't have to have the football in your hands to be able to make a play. Being a playmaker is being that Z receiver and running like your hair is on fire to make sure that those 2 inside guys have the best possible opportunity to make a play. Being a playmaker is being the backside receiver on a run play that breaks, that gets his butt all the way over there and blocks the safety, and then it's out the gate for a touchdown. That's being a playmaker. And you have to be able to have the ability to make plays or impact the game, not only when the football is in your hands. That to me is what makes a true playmaker.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Ross, can you name any of the play?
I think I can. I think I can. Yeah, because everything's segmented, and and it's pretty clear to me. So, but it's the beginning that's going to kill me. So, I believe it was explode to bunch right, and then Z out, 22 paint, and then it was all go special.
All go special. Yep.
Kill.
Yep.
Screen swing left. Swing screen left.
Swing screen left.
Boom.
Yes. Perfect. Hey, that's impressive.
That was good. That was good. I'll own up to it. I could not give you half of that right now. Just hearing Ross say it. But as it does, special teams is getting the short end of the stick.
Sorry, Blake.
Sorry, Blake. He's used to being short. We'll get to that coming up next. All right, closing us out today, we're going to talk a little bit of kicker Blake Grupe. He is, some people think that he's really good. Some people think that they need to replace him. Let's talk about it. Is Blake Grupe good enough to win football games? Yes, but is he a game changer? I don't know. Ross, what do you think?
Look, I think Blake Grupe holds on to his job here in 2025, and I think he deserves to hold on to his job here in 2025. He took a big step forward in 2024 from where he was in 2023. He's looked great over the course of like OTAs, minicamp, all other stuff. And I also think that we have to shift our conversations around the kicker now beyond just field goal kicks and point after attempts and things like that. But we have to consider the new kickoff rule. Accuracy, placement, direction, all of that matters so much more now. And Blake Grupe was a big part of that last year. I believe he forced the longest yards to go to the end zone on kickoffs last year across the entire NFL. It was like 71 point something yards per kickoff that teams had to go. And so he forces on kickoff starting field position to be very favorable for his defense. Now, it was tough for them to be able to make good on that because of the struggles that they had over on that side of the ball, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of a good starting place for it, that's where I think is another one of those big places where, like, if I'm an agent and I'm going in and I'm negotiating for Blake Grupe, I'm bringing some of these touchback numbers or kickoff numbers with the new kickoff rules and saying, like, hey, here's the area where he now controls the game for you and sets up your defense in advantageous situations. So it's more than just, can you put points on the board? It's, can you put my defense in an advantageous situation over and over and over again on kickoffs?
I think that a lot of, we talked earlier about, offensive linemen, you only really get your name called whenever you do something bad. I feel like the kicker is, you get celebrated when you do something good, but it feels really, really damning whenever you do something bad. So like Blake Grupe, he only missed 4 kicks last year. It's not bad. Like 87% percentage. I think that's a good jump up. He missed 7 as a rookie, and he was 6 of 8 from 50 plus. That's a little bit better of a percentage than he had the year before. I think that there's no reason to go out and replace Grupe right now, unless Charlie Smith just blows it out of the water, which, I mean, he could. Right. He has a great leg. But like you mentioned, I think with the new rules, Blake Grupe has to be, the clear favorite to win this job, and then has now a chance to prove himself as one of the better kickers in the league. As this kickoff thing, gets more set, people get more used to it. If he can do that while also continuing to step the game up, maybe be a little bit more dependable from deep, because you have these kickers kicking 61 with their eyes closed. It feels like sometimes, and that's just not Grupe's game. But maybe it could be. He's still young. He's only a couple years into the league, and let's see what happens. Lance, what do you think about Grupe in the kicking situation?
Well, I think we need to be careful talking about what guys do or don't deserve. This is a big time "what have you done for me lately" league, right? So it's like, true. Okay, this guy had a good year last year, like he deserves to be our kicker this year. No, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? He's going to have to go win this job, and that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to create competition between guys that you think both are capable guys. But something that has not been mentioned that I think is important to mention here is that there's a lot of things that potentially change when you're losing games. And there ultimately is there begins to be scapegoats in situations where teams aren't consistently winning or they're struggling to win. And as a bad game in a slide, he could very likely be a guy that is, in essence, easily replaced. I'm not going to say it's easy, because kicker is a freaking hard position. There's only 32 of them in the world that are getting paid to do it every Sunday, right? Like that's how hard it is. But I think it's going to have to be consistency from him. It's not just hey, he's got to go win this job in training camp, right? Like Charlie Smith, I believe, is on the international pathway program, right?
Correct.
So he's not going anywhere. He's a guy that's going to be a roster exempted spot. So they're basically going to have a free backup kicker the entirety of the season. So it's almost another level of pressure that's going to be on Blake Grupe this year, knowing that there's this other guy here that if he's kicking better than me in practice every week, or I'm struggling in the games, it would be really, really easy for them to just swap them out. Like he's already in your building and you're not having to use him as a roster spot. Like it's pretty rare that teams carry 2 kickers throughout the entirety of the season. You usually only have one guy. Like sometimes a team will have a kicking specialist and a kickoff specialist that's not a punter. It's rare these days because those game day roster spots are super duper tight and competitive, right? But I think he's had a decent career up until now. I believe he is a good kicker. I think he's going to have to continue to improve and show that consistency. He's going to have to be able to do both kickoffs and extra points and field goals, but it's week to week, in my opinion. Like it's not as simple as he wins the job, he's the kicker for the Saints this year. Like he's going to have to go out and do it consistently because of the fact that we've got another guy that more than likely, I mean, they'd be foolish to not keep him around as he's part of that international, player pathway. But I think the jury is still kind of out. Like I think we're in a solid spot with Grupe, but he's got to continue to be solid, and I think he's got to continue to improve as well.
Yeah. And I think Charlie Smith's opportunity in 2026 at the latest, right? But like if he doesn't become a guy in 2025 that ends up stepping in because Grupe does well all of 2025, 2026 becomes a really interesting conversation, because if Grupe does really well in 2025, a contract year, is it going to be more advantageous for the Saints to negotiate new kicker contract, or go to the guy that you've got for another year or two already under contract in Charlie Smith, if Charlie Smith is showing his development. So I feel like this 2025 season, one way or another, becomes really important, not just for 2025, but for 2026 at that position.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that's and still, in my opinion, going to be one of the more fun things to watch during training camp is to see how these kickers are performing. Just because I don't know, it's fun. I remember at the Senior Bowl I went one year, and Tyler Bass was one of the most fun players that I watched because he hit. It was an indoor practice, and he hit the roof. He wasn't aiming for accuracy. He was showing off his leg, and he would hit the roof of the building every time. He was just like, I'm going to show you how I can boot this thing. It was fun to watch. I feel like now is the only time I'm ever going to get to point out, give a shout out to the Rogue in Canadian Football League, which is where you can miss a field goal and still get a point because league is crazy.
It's a rouge.
Rouge. My bad.
That's a 1 point.
Your one and only
scoring
chance
play.
to give it a shout out.
It's a 1 point scoring play. If a field goal or an extra point is missed, the defense gets an opportunity to have a guy in the end zone to field the ball, and then he has to advance the ball out of the end zone. The end zone in Canada, for people who don't know, is 20 yards. And a lot of times, if that ball is kicked into the end zone, the guy's not getting out of the end zone, right? They're going to surrender a single point. But even if the field goal is missed and it goes out of the back of the end zone, they surrender a point. So it's a strange rule with a league full of them, but I understand them a little bit better because my brother played up there for 8 seasons. So it is pretty cool. You probably love it, Dylan, if you watch CFL games. They're on ESPN these days, so check them out. They also have weird punt rules too, which is right up your alley.
Let's go.
Get your rouge out already, buddy.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I don't have a fun one today. So thank you for listening to the Saints Squad Show. Check out me, Ross, John, and even Lance. Even Lance and even John. And even Lance. Go ahead and tweet at John what you think you should pick up from Buc-ee's. But until then, we'll be right back here on Monday to talk more Saints football and training camp. But until then, be sure to make Locked On Saints your second listen of the day, because you can never have enough Ross Jacks.